Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Sunday
Welcome.
Morning Grace. Someday I'm going to share some of the preamble that happens before we actually go live because he was making fun of my glasses. So there. If we both look a little bit tired, because we're real with you guys, that's actually a big part of our mission. It's been a serious point of transition, and interesting kind of observing the energy and how the energy works because he's going through a major transition with work, and so the energy is changing just within our household, and then all these house projects kind of just bubbled up to the surface, and it's like it's happening, because it was happening on this sort of more etherical level, it started to happen on the physical.
In the physical world. And the well pump decided this weekend that it wanted to be replaced.
Yeah.
We upgraded that this week, or with the help of a nice gentleman that lives down the road.
Yep.
Upgraded that to a new pump. So.
And windows we ordered last October were installed 2 weeks ago. So we've been painting and doing moving furniture and all of that stuff. So, and I think this is preamble, and there's a part of me that's like, whoa, we're way off course, but we're not, and I think part of understanding our topic for today is realizing that so many times we are in the midst of a miracle. We are in the creation process of miracles, and it feels like chaos, but it's really not. It's just part of the process.
Absolutely. And if you think of the story of the Big Bang and the creation of the universe, that was complete chaos.
Yeah.
And yet, whatever it is, 5 billion years later, I lost count, but here we are, with this miraculous world that we live in.
Indeed. So, in case you hadn't guessed it, our theme for this month is miracles, and this actually was born out of the new tenet, I love all beings with an open heart and an open mind. And the idea when we were intuiting the theme was that the tenets themselves create the space for miracles. And Peter and I were actually talking about this earlier this week because we have 3, right? Say it with me. 3.
Go B. Come on, 3.
3 different key points to make with you. And the first one is really around miracles and the healing. And in the Mayan calendar that Peter has spoken of, the miracles is connected to healing.
It is. The energy called Tihash is the knife, the healing, and the miracles. And basically, the point that I think we're trying to make is that you can have a very surface level intention or deployment of energy to an issue, to some situation, and it's really like a Band-Aid.
Right.
But if you get out the knife and dig down, then obviously there's some pain and trauma, but you have a true healing. So going deeper into that, and
right,
that's where you wrapped it into the tenet.
Yeah. Well, because I think that there are times where we humans get frustrated or angry or judgmental or controlling or whatever it is that comes up. And we take a quick deep breath and we're like, okay, I love all beings with an open heart and an open mind. And we think, I'm good. I've kind of brought myself back to center. But still going on underneath, I think so many times, is the bubbling, the churning, the wounds, the emotions that caused that reaction in the first place that are still not resolved. And so when we use any of the tenets, really, in a more surgical way. We're using them to experience the healing that yields the miracle. So if it is, for example, I won't go down too long a tangent, but I've been reading this book, The Body Keeps Score, as well as doing this heart math training in trauma, and realizing through this training how many of the girls on the playground that used to be mean to me, I'm realizing were probably coming from homes that didn't feel safe to them. And so they were bringing those emotions to the playground, and the only way they had some level of control was to kind of be bullies, to be mean girls, And being on the receiving end of that was hard, and I harbored grudges for a long time. But going into that tenet of I love all beings with an open heart and an open mind, and doing the work to realize why somebody is the way they are, and doing whatever healing I need to do to be compassionate rather than judgmental, which is still going to happen. But that's just another opportunity to look a little broader or a little deeper.
Absolutely. And part of the Mayan teaching is that we're presented these things to potentially heal through them. So again, going back to the example, that if it's like, okay, I'm going to love that person. I love all beings. But then we just let it go with that, then we're actually missing an opportunity to heal. That's been presented to us for a reason. And part of the Mayan belief is like, okay, if you just glance over it, you're going to get another opportunity. So you're actually doing yourself a service to take whatever it is, to dig deeper, to process, to find out why that situation, created some conflict or regret or frustration in you, to help heal that.
You're making me think too of Alan Cohen's book, A Course in Miracles Made Easy. He cites an example of a woman who was a Holocaust survivor, and there was a conversation in this forum that they were in about Hitler, and she had forgiven him. And there was a backstory, I don't remember all the details, but there was a backstory about, imagine a little boy who is beaten and abused and mistreated and all these things, and grows up to become, what the world sees as a monster, understandably sees as a monster. So, the behavior isn't excusable, but being able to open the heart in love for why somebody is the way they are is the work, and ultimately is the miracle.
Absolutely.
Makes sense?
Does make sense. So are we ready for?
I think we are.
Number 2. So number 2 is the size of the miracle. And so we had a situation just the other night, and it goes back actually a few months. A few months ago, we have some friends that had been through a very tough situation with an accident and whatnot, and we knew that they loved this restaurant, so we gave them a gift certificate to this restaurant called Davio's, because it's their favorite place to go. Flash forward to about a week and a half ago, and I get a text from the wife that says, we have a situation with our cats. We're on vacation. Is there any chance you can go over and check them out? So I did, and it was very easy, and the cats were fine, and I gave them a little bit of treats. And so here's where the miracle comes in, and I'd say this is on the smaller end, but
still magical.
It's still magical. It's still a miracle. We decided to go out to dinner the other night, and so there's a second restaurant that we decided to go to, and as we're walking to the restaurant 50 feet away, our friends come around the corner and they start laughing and basically tell us they had gotten us a gift card from this other restaurant like 30 seconds before to thank me for going over. And the sort of the miracle part is that they had been at this Davio's that we also like to go to and had meant to get a gift card there, but then forgot. And so they got it from this place that we were actually going to. So there was this whole synchronicity.
Because they forgot.
Around it.
Or were they just guided?
Or were they just guided? So that's on the smaller end of miracles. And some might call it a coincidence. I don't think we believe that, but and we also connected with them, and so that was the other part of the miracle, was because we'd sort of been ships in the night. They lived just up the street, but we hadn't really had a connection, so we had a nice little 5-minute visit and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then there's miracles on the other end of the spectrum, like the solution for global warming, or just the fact that we're here on this planet, that dinosaurs existed, that octopuses, have like incredible intelligence. You can see it everywhere.
I just heard this thing on Earth Day last week about how the problem in the ozone layer is actually being resolved because of aerosol cans and change. That there's certain things that, back at, they were, I forget it was through Apple News, and I can't remember who the source behind it was, but they were making the point that, there's a lot of concern with climate change. I think we all know that. And they were making the point that there was a time where it felt impossible to overcome the issue with the ozone layer depleting. And and it was like we didn't think it was possible. And here it was. And how cool is that? And so to hold out hope for, the issues that seem impossible right now, which actually bring us to number 3. That's the whole thing about miracles, is that, there are miracles happening in every moment. I just had this amazing synchronous thing happen, details not important, but through texts and an update on my brother's situation, and a thing we're doing that's just this whole text thread with Reverend Marianne and Jamie, that just was like this beautiful little synchronicity with the card that I pulled. But the bigger point here is that we think of things as impossible if we can't see a way for them to happen now. Like using climate change as an example, resolving climate change, curing all cancers, being able to, teleport to see our daughter for coffee this afternoon. All these things that, that seem impossible. Miracles happen all the time. Think about, what would we have thought of cell phones back in the 50s, or, flying back in the 1700s. I feel like the idea of miracle, even as I'm talking about it, I feel my whole heart chakra opening, because it's like, wow, so much is possible that we just can't see right now. And how friggin' cool is that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes me think of Star Trek, where,
of course,
they pressed on their chest and they're talking to Scotty up in the sky. Well, I recently got a pair of new earbuds.
Ding.
And you turn them on and off by just touching. There's not even a button. There's just a little sensor. And you go like this and it turns them off, and you go like that and it turns them on. And,
that's pretty funny.
It's, that was Star Trek's 50 years ago, 45 years ago. Just look at the change. So, and likewise with climate change, our daughter, who's a scientist, and she can get really caught up in the science of it. And, and I'm not to say it's not real. It is a real thing. It's a real thing to be concerned about. But getting trapped into there's only one solution, and the math doesn't add up, is actually probably a negative energy into that whole miracle happening.
Yes.
As opposed to praying for a miracle, praying for a resolution, but not putting the constructs of what we understand around it, just putting the context of we want it to be resolved for all of human and animal kind.
My daughter is calling as we're recording.
And she must have heard me.
That's funny.
Her antennas went up. And
her antennas, well, she is kind of part alien.
so,
Yeah.
anyway,
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So, I think miracles help us to understand that there's always an answer, and that's one of my favorite go-to mantras, beliefs to fall back on, is that there's always a good solution. There's always a good solution. We may not be able to see it right now, but there is, and that's where miracles live. I was going to say play a role, but I'm like, no, they're just there. Is, on the other side of what seems impossible.
and I would add, going back to our first point, and it may not be easy, might not be the easiest path to have happen, where you have to dig in or you have to go through something that you've been avoiding. But once you do, then it is the miracle, it is the right solution to whatever you're facing.
I'm just giggling at the fact that she called to, in Angel Land, like that's just an underscoring the point that he was making about, not feeling trapped in the scientific.
Or the mental, or the logical.
Yeah. The science is important. I'm not saying otherwise, but just, science is continuing to evolve. And
well, and it's one perspective, and there are so many perspectives that we don't even, go back 500 or 600 years. A lot of those sciences didn't exist. The world was flat, and all these other beliefs. That was the perspective at that time.
So miracles, just this guy. Well, I was going to say this guy, but I was actually reaching for this guy.
He is a miracle.
Yeah. So are you. Anyway, just feel into that energy of what it is to experience the miracle, and remember, I think the other thing I want to emphasize before we wrap up here is remember that I think it's a really fascinating juxtaposition in the Mayan energy that healing and the miracle are side by side along with the knife. So it's like cutting through to the core of what needs to be seen, to be healed, to really experience the miracle,
And to have focus, so think about the surgeon. You want him to be focused. You want him to have a steady hand. You want him to, really be on target.
Work on what's relevant.
And that's in creation of that miracle that we need to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we done, big guy? Yeah. So, card. Do the card, then the tenants?
Either one? She's
Card.
filling the card.
I am filling the card. Well, I feel like that goes with the tenants, doesn't it? This is Dreams of Gaia Tarot from Raven Phelan. And the card that came forward is the Five of Water. Right there. And this card in general is actually one of, that's funny, Peter, is one of victimhood, of feeling sort of alone, isolated, doubtful, just really kind of one of despair. And that's sort of the archetype of this card. And yet, when I look at this card, I see a woman who is dreaming a new world. We see I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in the right perspective, but those rays coming in are from the future. And so she's connecting to this path that is better for her, that is more aligned for her, that is more of the miracle. And she has the support around her to make it happen. But water is, obviously about going with the flow. It's also about, getting into that unconscious and doing the work. I think we're all being called to not force the work. I think that's actually a harmful way to approach it, but to allow the healing to, when it shows up, do it. Anything you want to add?
Absolutely.
Either of you?
I just see the fish, to me, look a little fire-like.
Yeah.
And so, again, going back to that sort of creation through destruction, that miracle is
Kali.
Yeah, Kali energy of burning up the old to create the space for the new.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that.
And the tenet for today is I own my guidance. And I feel like that where this comes in is the guidance about that work that we've been talking about doing. There's times that you need to dig super deep, and there's other times that, maybe you just need to address what I wouldn't say is on the surface, but it's maybe just below the surface. And maybe there are times that maybe you're not ready. So really just following your guidance in terms of making those...
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. There's a situation with one of my relatives, and I was pondering that yesterday, like, should I pray? Should I get involved? Should I reach out? And in the end, my guidance was not right now. That's not what's needed for either my relative or myself. And so I should just leave it for now. Yeah. And a really quick point forward, because you just made me think about how I think miracles come from the guidance. So following the guidance, which is all about right action at the right time, is where the miracle is created, and the space for that magic to happen. So there's a quick little PS, point 4 there for you, Peter. Yeah, he's getting tired. He needs to drive.
All right, so we ready to do the tenets?
We are.
And hopefully we won't screw him up again. We have been doing pretty well with the new one, but we're still creatures of habit at times. All right.
Join along with us if you'd like, or just soak them in.
I open my heart with deep gratitude and intend today to master my spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energies. I am dedicated to my spiritual practice. I surrender to my soul's purpose through sacred prayer. I own my guidance. I live in partnership with my angels. I serve with a loving heart. I am compassionate in every moment. I trust it's all good. I allow immediate forgiveness. I honor my truth. I listen to the spiritual messages within my physical body. I express myself creatively. I love all beings with an open heart and an open mind. I am one with Mother Earth, and so it is. So with that, thank you for joining us here. So much love to each and every one of you. Enjoy the miracles. Be well.
Be well.